Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pitch Us. Happy to have Toby here today with a great business. I'm joined with Jeff Erickson. My name's Tim Cooley. I'm the author of the Pitch Deck book and part of the Park City Angel Group. Jeff, please do a quick introduction.
Yep, Jeff Erickson, angel investor with a company called Forecaster that does financial modeling software for early stage startups.
Thanks, Jeff. So the goal of these episodes really are to help you guys learn how to present better. Toby, so please, why don't you go ahead and share your screen and then pitch us?
Sure. All right. So I'm here today to talk about Two Shot. So what's the problem? Today, music creators notoriously struggle with getting the appropriate compensation and recognition they deserve for their work. Over 75% of music producers have had their content leaked, whether this be a drum kit or some form of beat that they have created. So this is where Two Shot comes in. Two Shot is a SaaS platform for creators, music creators in particular, and we're trying to bridge the gap between Web3 and the music industry, but in particular the sampling sort of industry where music creators sample other music creators. So we provide an open marketplace for music creators to share their work and have other people legitimately sample their content, helping producers ultimately focus more on their art rather than the process of sort of contacting a music manager in order to sort of clear a sample for commercial use. That's the goal of our platform, to sort of ease that process. Simple yet effective. There's multiple use cases. So one use case might be a music producer wants to sample this track from the 70s to add some a different sort of vibe to their track. They would come to Two Shot, find the sample on a platform, and use it within their music project. The other side of things is a music artist might want to sort of open up a new source of revenue by uploading their content onto our platform, where other music creators can then come along, sample the content, and then clear it via our platform, and we will then handle the royalties and sort of process that and forward that on to the creator. A YouTuber might want to find some background music for one of their videos, or there's multiple use cases. Ultimately, a good way to think about it is sort of what's the company, Shutterstock for audio. So one of our features is that we allow creators to mint their content on a blockchain of their choice, which allows a content creator to unanimously, ubiquitously, everywhere, verify their ownership as it's sort of a permanent record on a blockchain that they sort of created this content. It also allows us to direct royalty payments to their wallet. So there will be an associated wallet. There will be a wallet associated with each token that we mint, and we can then process the royalties to the respective wallet. And it's ultimately we're trying to sort of handle the copyright system, music rights system on the blockchain. That's one of our innovations at Two Shot. One of the benefits of using our platform is the anti-piracy. So we actually have not only a music platform, but music software that music creators use to actually access the library, or the Two Shot library. So built into the software is digital rights management, which sort of prevents or mitigates piracy. So here's just a quick example where someone has uploaded a drum kit, which is just a collection of sounds to be used in a music project. And then a couple of days later, it's being leaked on platforms like Reddit for people to download for free. That's the sort of use case that we are trying to mitigate at Two Shot. So that's a creator selling point. Why would a creator come to Two Shot? One of the things we provide for them is anti-piracy. For actual users of the platform, it's plug and play. So what you can see on the left here is a piece of software called FL Studio. And within FL Studio, you can see the two-shot audio plugin, which is our desktop software. So it essentially, our software sort of plugs right into the software music creators are using today, which simplifies sort of getting started with two-shot. It just works really easily. You browse our catalog, you find a sample, and you can instantly load it in to your music project without having to manually go online with a web browser, download the samples, import the samples into your project. We've sort of streamlined that entire process with our desktop plugin. Again, we're trying to make the royalties system sort of effortless as well. So creators that post to our platform don't really need to worry about chasing up creators because we are on their behalf handling and processing their royalties. And we provide many forms of payouts, whether that be a MetaMask wallet, crypto wallet, or traditional forms of payouts with something like a credit card or PayPal, for example. So yeah, many benefits for our platform. For creators, this includes anti-piracy, clarity of ownership with tokens on blockchains, sort of effortlessly opening up a new source of revenue. And there's also a community aspect to our platform where creators can sort of gather a following on our platform and a direct relationship with their consumers. They can share stuff, comment on stuff, like stuff, etc. For consumers, the main users of our platform, the goal of two-shot is to be a one-stop shop to find musical samples and inspirations to use in your music projects. There's a very simple subscription model. It's custom integration again into the existing music software, which again makes it easier for music creators to get started with two-shot. It just works pretty simply. And it works in the cloud, which is another benefit where in the past, music creators usually have to lug around gigabytes or even terabytes of musical samples on their laptops or drives. And what we've done here with our plugin is we've enabled a way to basically store the samples in the cloud and instantly load them in on demand into the music projects. And to get back to the main point of two-shot, one of the main benefits is that licensing music becomes super easy because it's all handled via our platform rather than trying to find an email for a manager or trying to find someone's Instagram so you can reach out to them where you might be ignored, for example. So these are all the things we're trying to simplify with two-shot. So the addressable market, there are approximately 80 million music producers worldwide. More than 45% of these guys aren't making any money today. So we're trying to lower that percentage and get more music creators paid for their content on our platform. And serviceable addressable market. This figure here is what we've calculated based on this 80 million user figure. We've sort of included things like subscriptions and the marketplace cuts that we'll be taking. One thing to note is that today the music NFT market sits at $3.9 billion, and this market is still in its infancy with only 22,000 creators. It's sitting at 3.9 billion. So there's huge untapped potential here, which two-shot is sort of at the forefront of this music tokenization sort of world. Business model, as I said, is simple. There's monthly subscriptions to access the platform. So users that want to license content on our platform can pay from $6.99 to $12.99 for different tiers. We also take a marketplace cut. Sorry, I've just lost my slide. Go back up. Marketplace cut of all transactions going via our platform. To get more into that, two-shot would sort of act as in some ways as a musical version or music-focused version of OpenSea or Rarible, an NFT trading platform essentially. It's not our main selling point, but it's functionality that we provide and will accordingly take a marketplace cut. Users can also pay to promote their content within the algorithms, similarly to how you can advertise content on Instagram or Twitter. You can sort of advertise your content on the Shop platform, monetize your content. The competition, there's various similar companies out there. Two of the most notable are Splice and Arcade. So Splice is their audio sampling platform. They provide royalty-free content for music creators. And one of the main differentiators between us and Splice is one, we're handling the tokenization of samples, and two, we provide this additional desktop software, which makes it even easier for users to sort of work with our catalog. Arcade is another company Output is another company that provides the Arcade software, which essentially allows users to similarly stream content into their musical projects rather than downloading it manually and bringing it over. However, they lack a sort of open marketplace. It's more content provided specifically by Output, whereas we allow users to freely upload and share between one another. OpenSea is obviously the biggest NFT platform or marketplace out there, but they've not really got a focus on music, and they don't have that integration in the music sort of sector or music software as well for producers. So that's kind of where Two Shot ties all of these ideas together, and is ultimately trying to streamline the process of finding inspiration, loading the sample into your project, and then licensing the sample for commercial use. Our competitive advantage includes the fact that we're kind of the first to market in this particular sort of idea. We're the first guys to build this product. The ease of use of our desktop software is a really big selling point for music creators. It just fits right into their workflow and enhances their workflow, providing new inspiration for projects. We've got exclusive content on our platform via partnerships that we've acquired with some independent music labels as well as industry music producers. Music piracy prevention, of course, and simple royalty payouts. So today we've already started collaborating, as I said, or partnering with industry professionals. So we've partnered with producers like Artist, who has worked with some quite big names. You might not have heard of these people that they've worked with, but in the music producer world, these are quite big artists or producers. Recently, we actually partnered with a independent music label called Amiata Music, and we're in the process of bringing their content onto our platform. And this is the kind of thing that we will be doing. We're going to sort of, we start off with small independent music labels, and one day we might be working with, Universal Music Group, Sony Music, etc. That's our big vision. Our go-to-market strategy includes various ideas. Our target audience or target customer is the internet connected producer who produces from home. It's kind of a hobby, might not be a hobby, but they maybe also be making music from it. But we're not initially targeting, the big producers who are the bigger producers who are potentially working under a music label. That's actually a much smaller target demographic. We're targeting the sort of general music producer that you'll bump into. So we're partnering with music labels. As I said, we've partnered already with one small indie label. We're partnering with industry professionals. We've got about a dozen industry professionals already on our platform. We're doing community events such as beat battles, which sort of promotes use of our platform within the community. And we've got a referral program, free trials of the software, etc. So our roadmap, in June/July, we onboarded about 100 beta testers to our platform. I actually wrote this deck quite a while ago, so it might be outdated, but we onboarded 100 beta testers onto our platform. We've got a fully functioning platform along with the desktop software, and we've enrolled over a dozen industry professionals, and that's in the independent music label. So the goal for what we project we can do by Q1 of 2023 is grow to around 15,000 paying users, which would put us at a point where we are already profitable, but rather than obviously sort of netting all of that profit, we would be wanting to focus on the growth of the company. So the team, I am the founder / CTO. I started working on Two Shot about a year and a half ago, and it was started as a side project until I started giving it out to a couple of my friends, and that's where the idea sort of started rolling. So I brought on Radin. Radin's focused on marketing / growth, and I've also got Ty Tucker advising. So he has worked with a lot of startups himself. He actually works at a Fortune 500 company and is, I think he's an SVP there. So he's quite experienced. He's a C-suite level advisory member of the team, advisor. So what are we looking for? We're looking for about $700,000 for a seed / pre-seed round. And we're looking to hire up to 16 employees. This includes machine learning engineers, blockchain developers, sales development reps, spending money on infrastructure, as well as, I think the main goal is that right now I've worked on this product in it's a part-time gig. I've worked on it on the side, and what I would really like to do is go from 2 or 3 part-time members on the team to a full-time team of, let's say, 8 people, and that can really take Two Shot to the next development. So we're hoping with this pre-seed round to fast-track the development, invest in marketing, and help obtain that market dominance. Well, as I said, we're kind of at the forefront of this new music NFT and industry, in particular this sampling industry, focused on sort of music creators to music creators. And within the next year, we hope to acquire 100,000 paying users. And I think that sums it up. So ultimately, our goal is to become the go-to platform for music creators worldwide.
Good job,
Long,
Joby. Great job.
Yeah, that's cool. Sweet. Okay, so again, thanks for presenting. That was really interesting. We'd love to tell you things that we really enjoyed. So, Jeff, why don't you start us off? What did you really like about the presentation?
So first off, I love what you're doing. This is super cool. It was really interesting what you're doing. I was surprised that nobody else is doing this right now. Creating, and I guess they are to some extent, but not totally the way you guys are doing it. I have a number of questions that I just think it's fascinating. But I think one of the things that was really impressive, and I didn't know any of the artists or the folks that you had signed up the music producers or anyone else. But it seemed like, I mean, just with some of the criteria and that the number of followers, that seemed to be really impressive. I'd probably dig into that a little bit more, but I thought that was a bright spot. And then just the traction that you guys have gotten so far, where you've got 100 paid users. I was curious to know your target was 500 paid users by August or in August. Have you guys hit that, or where are you guys at today? Was a big question I had.
We've not hit that. So that was the goal that was set when we originally created the pitch. We're sitting at about 100, and I think last time I checked it was 160 beta users. Okay. So we're actually still pre-revenue, but I think at the time when I wrote or designed the deck, I think it was in July or June. I think those numbers or figures were based on, it was based on us having raised at that point in time. We probably could have got to 100 paying users within the first 2 months.
Okay, gotcha. So you still just got 168 beta testers, but no paid clients yet, no paid users yet.
No, we've been focusing on building the product, and when I say we, I say the 2-man team that is working on it in their part time. So it's been quite a bottleneck, which is sort of prolonged. What's the word? Basically, delayed us sort of going into marketing the actual product and acquiring these paying users. Kind of bottlenecked there. Okay. That's why we want to work full time on it.
Yeah, no kidding. No, I think there's a lot that we can do to kind of provide you a little bit of feedback and things like that. So, I mean, Tim, if you want to pitch in here real quick.
Yeah, no, honestly, love the space that you're targeting. I think what we can help you, I want to help you with the way you can communicate this, because I think you're just missing a lot of information that you could have addressed. But I like you. I like the space that you're going after. And there's lots of people trying to tackle this in different ways. And so I think feedback will actually help with the things that I like, more so than just being like, I hated everything, because I didn't. I just think you just left out a lot of important details that could have added value. Yeah, but other than that, like you'll see why I like it, but I just have a lot of questions. So Jeff, why don't you give us some areas of improvement?
Okay. Yeah. So first off, just the overall pitch deck, some things that you can probably work on. And we tell this to a lot of the founders that come through here. So this is not unique to you, but there was so much text in your presentation, and you would hit every point, but it wasn't that we couldn't keep up with reading, but one, the font was super small in a lot of spots, but there was so much text that you didn't really need. I think you could put logos in there, or you could put images and then just talk to it. And I think it's going to go a lot better. And so there's several areas, several slides where, if you just think about where you can put some logos or put some images or something that you can more so talk to, as opposed to having all of the details in there. Now, with that said, I mean, if you're going to send this off to an investor, then maybe you can leave some of the text in there so that somebody could read through that. But for presentation wise, all of that text can get rather distracting. It was hard to read a lot of it because a lot of that was pretty small. So, I mean, that's just kind of overall, some feedback that might help you with the presentation.
Yeah, so it's a good point. The deck was kind of originally designed for sending out. So potentially what we could probably do is have one deck designed for presentations and one designed separately for sending out to investors. So yeah,
like your spot.
I'll adjust that.
So I think the other thing is you went way over time. I don't know if we set a time limit here. We probably should have said in advance, 10 minutes. I think I didn't keep track, but I'm thinking like 20 minutes or so. So it it was a long presentation. I think one of the things we need to work on is condensing it and hitting on those
Okay.
areas quickly and powerfully, going through it and not spending so much time. There was one where it was the benefits slide, customers and the others. And I think we spent like 3 minutes on that slide. I might be overstating that, but we went through every point and it got a little long. And I think you could have just hammered that home really powerfully and quickly in another way and hit all the points, but just gotten to it. So,
Yeah.
so let's see some of the other things that I thought of as you were going through this is I was looking for kind of that monetization slide of where does this take you in terms of your revenue. I saw some big numbers in there, which I like as an investor, but I am wondering, how do you get there, and what does this look like if you hit 100,000 users, and when do you get there? What's the pathway? How do you, when you say over the next year we're getting 100,000 users, I honestly I didn't have a lot of confidence in that because I just didn't see that it had a plan behind it of how the customer acquisition was going to happen. I saw a lot of partnerships and other things like that, but it's pretty soft. And I kind of wanted to see, this month we're going to have this many, this month we're going to have this many, and where it's building up to get us to some of those numbers to help me feel like it's actually realistic. So, I mean, that's just a little feedback that I got from as you were going through the presentation. I'm sure I'll think of some other things, Tim, if you want to step in and
Yeah, totally.
I'll try to remember some of the other things as well.
Yeah. So, let's talk about those numbers. I was
Sure.
really excited to hear traction. I wanted to hear that much earlier on. You said you got 100 and some people beta testing. How many of those converted to paying subscriptions? I think the slide that was missing was really the financial projection slide. And using that from a user point of view, right? Like we've got 1,000 freemium, 10 paying. Next year, we're looking at this, like showing us that progression. If quick plug, Forecaster, great tool for this. If you need help with that, like reach out. We've got discount codes. So it's something that people just don't naturally know how to do if they've never done this before. One thing that, and we'll go way back to the beginning. I just wanted to piggyback off what Jeff just talked about, but I want to get to know you. Like, why did you put this company idea together? Like, so you talked about that you're a musician, you're a CTO. I found out, like, this was long, probably 12 minutes into the presentation, that like you coded this yourself, right? Like, and I'm assuming you're a musician as well. I had to make that guess, but you could have been like, man, I've been doing this thing and like I wanted to do something, blah, 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 right? And so I built it myself because nobody else would do it. One of the things that I would really challenge you on is to critically look at what you've built and why you've built it and pull out those problem statements. So, for example, sampling right now in music is a massive problem. You see Ed Sheeran, all these guys are getting sued. They're suing each other for sampling. Like it's a huge, huge problem, which is what you're trying to solve from the indie developer. And I would have loved that beginning. So here's the 5 things that we've seen, right? 1, music's going out and doing something. It's really hard to find people, like to find the actual person if you want to sample them. You got to go through 30 different people to find the person, right? Especially as an indie developer, or I mean, an indie music person, getting big popular stuff is like real hard, So those kinds of things I would have loved at the very beginning. So I built a platform that does these things, right? You talked about them, but I would have loved that real clean, like Jeff mentioned, hit me with the problems that you've discovered as a musician yourself, and like all your buddies are having problems with, then you've solved, or at least you're starting to solve some of those problems, right?
Yeah.
Go real quick. Once you finish that, go into that business model slide. So I think this is a freemium platform in a real way. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But talk to me what freemium looks like. You get 5 samples a month. You have to pay an extra amount, right? It's kind of like the what are those like stock photography, like you mentioned, the stock
Oh
apps?
yeah.
It's very similar business model. You can have a subscription that gives you 100 samples. One of the things that I was kind of waiting for is how you're tracking the samples. So if we look
Hmm.
at like YouTube, right? If I go and pull an Imagine Dragons song and add it to my clip, about 10 seconds later, they're shutting my thing down because they've got this deep algorithm that's like recognizing music.
Mm.
I don't know what you're using, but that was a thing that I was really looking for in this space. So that if Jeff puts his music out there, I go and sample it. Doesn't matter what platform I put it out there. You're like, hey, flagged him. Jeff, here's your 5 cents. Right. I mean, Tim, here's your 5 cents or whatever the thing was. Right. That was
Yeah.
something I was just actively missing. And so I think this is a really, really big problem, and I think you need to address all those things because all my questions are about like how does this product work? Why is it better than YouTube's algorithm for catching things? Is it really better to see for the indie people, which I believe that you're going to build? But those are some of the big things that I was just missing as a person who's very into TikToks and how the sampling world goes. Um,
Yeah.
I will say your numbers, be careful with those. Like Jeff mentioned, 100,000 in a year is a lot of paying people. So be very strategic about those numbers. 15,000 in a year is a good number. That's okay. Like we know that it's going to take a while to build the company. So like you don't need these impressive sales numbers. If you hit them, great. But you're talking about like $7 a month, right? Like you just need to get people using the platform, giving you good reviews, and that's the first year of the business, right? So another thing that you did was you said you were raising 700K for 16 employees. That's a super red flag. So one thing to think about, and this is for everybody who's listening, if you don't know how to do these numbers and you're just putting these out for like a pitch competition or something, it's about 100 grand per person. It gets
Mm.
higher than that, but if you kept that in mind, you need at least $1.6 million to hire 16 people.
Yeah,
Real rule of thumb.
that was kind of uh, an error on my part because I had originally started with a higher figure that we were raising, but I didn't actually lower the employee count. So we're looking to start with around eight to 10 employees,
Perfect.
with a pre-seed raise. I think 16 employees is probably too much to grow from
Yeah.
like 2 part-time to 16 full-time. It's quite a big jump. So
Right.
yeah.
And you might only need to bring in, like you mentioned, like eight. So 800K or a million makes sense, right?
Hmm.
Um, then again, that's
And
just quick math.
one other thing I was going to mention on that is one of the thoughts I had as we're going into 16 employees is Toby, what kind of experience do you have managing a team? Because I mean that's a lot of employees to bring on. Even 8 is a lot to bring on, and so
Yeah.
I was a little concerned not knowing if you had managed a team like that before, especially of engineers, or if you were bringing on somebody to manage that team. So it was a little unclear. If you just say give
Hmm.
me $700,000 and I'll go hire a bunch of people, I'm not. I'm just a little nervous about that, right? So,
Yeah.
anyways, it's good
Makes
to
sense.
address that at some level.
Yeah,
Totally.
I do have I have experience as a lead engineer, so I have experience leading a development team, which is kind of the role I would be playing in the first sort of couple months or years at the company. I probably wouldn't want to take on a CEO role. I have no real sales uh, background, and that's a sort of role that I might want to look into finding either hiring a CEO or finding maybe a sales focused co-founder. I'm
Gotcha.
kind of in that process now of looking if I can find a fitting co-founder. Um,
Gotcha. Yeah, and that probably goes back to kind of
and
the
they'll probably be
well.
better at pitching you guys than me.
Nah, you got the passion. You can do this. I've
Oh,
heard this
totally.
recently, like people who want to hire out someone to pitch for them, and it was their idea. I think we had somebody recently, Jeff, say
Yeah.
that too. Like
I need to hire Adam Newman to pitch for me.
You
just
just
practice.
practice a lot. I mean, you practice this, Toby. And I mean, honestly, the good founders that come through and, you can tell they've done their pitch presentations hundreds of times, some probably 1,000. And,
Mm.
it's just a lot of practice, repetition. So you got this thing down. And that's what it takes.
The other thing that'll
Yeah.
help with that practice is if when you get to those like really punchy things that gets my eyes to light up, it makes the presentation go so smooth. Like for example, it's like, well, what do you do? How'd you get into this? Like if you treat it like a question and answer, kind of a conversation, well, how do you get paid? Like all of those things, it just makes it real easy to talk about it. Because it's not like you're not trying to impress me. You're just trying to tell me about your business. And the other thing to keep in mind is that you're just trying to get to the next meeting. So no one's writing you a check today. Like what I might do is meet with you in a week or a month and be like, what did you do differently from today than you did a month ago? And so,
Mhm.
but yeah, there's like, man, I'm very interested in this space. But I think it would be worth it. Do you have any questions for us? Because there's just a lot to this space. And I want to give you a chance because even though we don't normally do this, before we get to our final question, I kind of want to like let you process a little bit.
Yeah, you guys have raised some really, really good points that I'm gonna go off and work on. And you've given good feedback, so I can't really ask for anything there. I guess is this the sort of a lot of investors probably rightfully are a bit skeptical about going into the sort of Web3 crypto industry, especially with a lot of scammy stuff going on.
Sure.
So, as investors yourself or angel investors, are you guys sort of, how do you guys feel about investing in this sector? And also, at the same time, during a downturn, has that
Sure.
affected how you
So
guys are deploying capital?
I'll say that, I mean, this doesn't scare me like maybe a pure NFT play. If you're going down that path, I see some real utility here. I saw the problem, so I recognize the problem up front,
Mhm.
and so it wasn't like, oh, this is one of those crazy Web3 NFT deals. I saw some real value here and a need. If you don't solve this problem, somebody's going to have to help solve this problem. So um, I hope it's you, Toby. And so you know, that wasn't an issue for me. Um,
Yeah, I
Okay.
will agree. I think this is a use case for Web3, like a true use case. Ledgering makes sense because you're tracking something between people that could be used a billion different ways. Um,
Mhm.
so I think that's going to be a real important thing. I just wouldn't get held up on it. For example, what language did you code this technology in?
Bunch of languages. I
But
don't really
the
want
answer
to
is it
answer
doesn't.
that, but
It doesn't matter, right?
yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what programming language you use as far as an investment. Like, did you use
Mhm.
PHP? It doesn't matter if it's Ruby on Rails or whatever. So keep in mind that it's just a ledgering system that allows you to track things through the web. And that can be such a minute part of this versus you're betting on Web3 being a thing. I didn't get that from you. I think you did that very, very
okay,
well.
great.
So I'll say that. So yeah,
Yes.
so coming down to it, our final question is, based off of what you heard today, Jeff, would you take this company onto due diligence?
Yeah, Toby, you're super early. I was hoping you had a little more traction than you actually do. I think you do need that. You need some paying customers. You need
Mm.
to get there, and I think you will. I mean, you just super early right now to kind of prove some of this out. Um, so yeah, I think there were still a lot of questions, and I didn't feel like you were quite ready there quite yet. I think you can also polish up the presentation. Like I said, go through this hundreds of times and take every opportunity you have to pitch and perfect the message. Um, but yeah, probably not quite yet.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
fair.
going to agree with Jeff, but here's something I want you to think about is samples. The number of samples is a really huge data point for you, right? And we didn't talk about that at all. Like how many people are using the product to do what you want it to be used for. Um, and so I think pull those data points out that show traction. Because what if those 100 people have done a million different samples? There's some value there. That's
That's a
telling me
great
that people are
metric.
using the platform. They like what they're seeing. They're just waiting for you guys to build the technology to make it better for them. You know, um, this is one that I will follow you. I'm interested to see where you go because, like I mentioned, I think this space is fascinating right now, especially again, like I said, with all the lawsuits. But today, I would not move you on to due diligence based off what you presented. Right? You might
Okay.
have all the answer to these questions, but if you presented this today, I would not move you forward. And so, um, yeah. So, real quick, if you need help with pitch of this, everybody, if you need help with pitch decks, please check out more of our episodes. We love helping people do this. And if you need help with your financials, check out Forecaster. There is a discount code in the link in the description. And, you know, come to us. Let us know how we can help.
Thanks, guys.
Great. I want to thank